Hello there and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Carrie Rhodes and today I am bringing you another card class featuring the August club kits from Spellbinders. This month we have florals, pomegranates, wax seals. I'm super excited to bring you these 5 cards featuring some of the club kits from Spellbinders. First of all, I like to start out with the large die of the month. It is one of my favorite club kits, but I have 5 others to share with you in this video today. So we'll play with them as we go. Here you can see the blooming pomegranate die set. There are dies to create a pomegranate where you use the 2 dies to create this right here. And then there's an open pomegranate. So you use the same outer die and an inner die that presses the pattern into the paper. And then you have these little inserts that you're going to put into those little impressions. And there's 2 pieces you're going to want to die cut out. One has small holes, one has large holes. And then you'll layer those pieces up so that the piece that has the larger holes goes on top of the other one. And those fit all snugly into that piece of pomegranate that has the impressions in it. So the first one you're going to layer with a solid die behind it, and the next one you'll glue your sections into it. So you have these 2 different looks. It's really very pretty. So pick your colors how you like. I chose white for the background, but also a vanilla would be great for that. There are layers for your large branch, so you can have the leaf be 2-toned. There are tiny little pomegranates just starting to grow with a piece to back them. There are 3 different layered flowers, so you have a front piece and a back piece, and it gives you 2 different looks. And there's tiny little blooms. There's a thank you or thanks that you die cut out with a frame around it, and it just cuts the letters into the paper. There's no like fallout pieces. There's also like a little stem or like a root for the pomegranate that you glue the 2 pieces together and then glue that to the bottom, just like that. So here you can see what the 2 pomegranates look like. They're really cute. And those are going to go onto the branch. You see the large circles on this branch? That is where you're going to glue your pomegranates, your like baby pomegranates, and the flowers. So you've got a nice spot to adhere those down to. So here's those baby pomegranates where you glue the little piece right behind it so that the little flecks and spots show up. And then those layering flowers, there are actually 3 different blooms, and 2 of them look very similar, but the flowers that you glue on top are a little bit different. So be careful when gluing them down that you select the right one that lines up. And then we've got a die that cuts out all these little tiny bits. I die cut it from red and from white, and you can see that creates the center of these open blooms, and it really brings it to life once you put those in there. There's even these teeny tiny little specks that go in the center of the pink flower. So let's take all those things and make a card. I'm going to cut out 2 different branches, and I'm going to overlay these on the same colored cardstock that I cut them from. So it's going to give you this kind of faux embossed look. I really love this for backgrounds. I've done this a lot of times. And then we're going to do a little bit something extra with it, add some color to it. It's really a fun way to create a background. I love creating my own backgrounds with ink, with paint, with all different things, but doing it with die cuts is also really cool. So you could leave it just like this, but I wanted to really draw your eye into the center and kind of give this a frosty feel. So I have some white ink that I am blending onto the edges. It's quite strong. I maybe got a little more than I originally had anticipated, but I decided to go with it. Once I got it all the way around without picking up more ink, I kind of softened out the edges, which really brought it in far to the center. Now, I didn't want to waste any of this ink on my glass mat, so I decided to spritz it with water, pick it up with my scraggly paintbrush, and just drag it along the edge of a window sheet and splatter it all over that background. So now I'm kind of going with a really frosty look, so I thought, why not add some sparkle silk? So I did that for some sparkly splatter too. And then once that was dry, I am adding on my original branch that I die cut from some lighter green cardstock, and I added some even lighter green accents to the leaves. And then I had a little excess glue because it's a very thin die cut, so I just picked that up with a paper towel. And then I popped up my 2 pomegranates onto those 2 largest circles, and then I was set to adding on the rest of my cute things, the little flower blooms, the little baby budding pomegranates, and the tiny little flowers. And it's just a really beautiful branch. I think it is fine for any time of year, but it can also be used for Christmas time or winter, because that's, you know, when we're used to eating pomegranates is like a wintry fruit, right? At least here in Idaho. So next I am adding on those tiny little pomegranates. You see there's 2 different styles, and I think that just really adds to the realism of this die cut. Next are the little flowers. I chose to do them in pink because I wanted to add something pink that you'll see in just a moment. So I had to tie in the pink somehow. So that ended up being these cute little blooms, and I think it works. So the pink thing is the new wax seal of the month. This is the Mandala Flower wax seal. It's like a stamp, a metal stamp, and it comes with the wax, and the wax that came with it was peachy pink. So I'm just going to open all this up. This is my first wax seal of the month. It's a brand new club kit that Spellbinders is offering, so I am super excited to be sharing it with you. And I have to say, like, I'm totally obsessed with wax sealing. It is so much fun. And it is hot. Like right here when I'm opening this up, I'm like, oh gosh, that candle. Oh, it's so hot right beneath. So I had to move it. And then the wax that comes in little beads is so perfect. It melts quickly. You just want to put this little spoon on the wooden rest with the candle lit underneath it. Melt your little wax beads. 3 or 4 is all that you need, and it takes a minute or 2 to melt them, and then you just pour it out onto the mat. Now all of this comes in a kit. The stand, the spoon, the mat. It does come with a wax seal stamp, and yeah, it's really cool. And it does come with gold beads, wax beads. I'm going to call them beads, but I don't know that that's their name. It might be. So I love mixing my wax beads and do different colors. So then you get like this kind of marbled look. Ooh, it's fabulous, but that mandala is really fun. I also think it kind of resembles a snowflake, so you could really use this on Christmas cards too. So here you can see I have pearl white and the peachy pink mixed together. It is so cool. And now once you place that wax seal stamp in there, you just let it set there for like 15 seconds and it's good. It's ready to go. I'm also going to put in, I think these were called pomegranate, so I was like, yes, perfect. I will use those. And I'm going to do another mix. I just think it's so much fun. And I kind of had this dark red color going on, so I thought, well, why not give it a try? I'll do the red, the white, and the pink together. That has to be fun. So there's the white and pink. So good. So I just thought, you know, you can easily make these up ahead of time and save them. So that's what I thought. I'll just make a few different options and then I can save what I don't use on today's projects. So when you're not using the spoon to melt your wax, you want to set it off to the side. Give it a minute and then wipe it out because that metal gets ridiculously hot. Like, you got to be super careful with that. Yeah. Ask me how I know. I might have touched it slightly. Didn't burn myself, but I did say ouch. All right, so there's my 3 pieces. They're so gorgeous. I will use, I think, at least 2 of them on my projects today, and I'm going to make another one. All right, so I'm going to put all of this together with my wax seal, this cool twine bow, and my thanks die cut sentiment. So it's going to go all at the top. I'm going to make this little like cluster of embellishments there. I'm sticking it down with hot glue, but I did play with regular glue because I wanted to see how that sticks. Now at Spellbinders, they do have some like adhesive circles that are sized for the wax seals that you can get. So there is that. All right, I glued everything down, added it to my 5x7 card base, and to give this even more of like an icy feel, I brought in my diamond stickles, and I'm adding that just as like almost like frost settled on there. I know like you don't really want frost on your blooming flowers and your ripening fruit, but I liked the look, so I did it. It's a card. It doesn't have to be 100% real, right? All right, so now you can see when the stickles has dried, it's a very subtle look, but I really love it. So that is the Blooming Pomegranate die set, the large die of the month, and that Mandala wax seal. So very gorgeous. What a fun die set. I mean, Spellbinders always brings it with the large die of the month. Next, we are looking at the Glimmer Hot Foil plate and foil of the month. This is the Overflowing Floral plate. So there's just 2 plates, and then I got some rose gold foil with mine. It always comes with foil, but it might not be the same color for everybody. So just know that you might not get the same color I got. All right, so we hot foiled that onto a piece of white cardstock, and it is gorgeous. I'm not gonna lie, these flowers make me so happy. I love them. I did get a little over foiling there, so I'm gonna take care of that. But while I am prepping the piece that I just peeled off, I'm going to hot foil that with a solid plate so I don't waste that foil. You'll see what I mean in just a second if you haven't seen it before. So I sand erased away those pieces while my Glimmer Hot Foil machine was heating up with my large piece on there. And there you can see the plate is solid, and it allows you to hot foil your negative extra foil. It's so awesome. I do have, wherever I had an imperfection on the first one, I have it on the second one. I can't use a sanding eraser, but I can cover it with an embellishment, which is what I will end up doing. So I'm going to go ahead and hot foil the little sentiment from this set in the same foil on white paper, and we'll get that ready to go while I have the hot foil machine out, because I will tell you, every single time I turn off my hot foil machine, I need to use it again. Like if I just leave it on, it would be better. Every time I turn it off, I end up turning it back on. Okay, we're going to color this up with watercolor pencils from Tim Holtz. And I wanted a real kind of earth tone, fall looking scene here. And this is just a really quick way to color this in. Now you could totally go all out. Colored pencils, Copic markers, and really add some like cool coloring to this. However, this is cool too. What I'm doing is cool. I'm just saying it's a little bit faster than doing all of that. And sometimes you just want to have a card that doesn't take forever. Sometimes you want to put all the time into it. I am so that person. I love cards with all the detail, with all the cool techniques. And I want lots of them on one card. But I also have times where I just want to make a card that doesn't take forever. So I decided to go with the watercolor pencils, and it gave me the effect that I wanted. I love that kind of fall feel to this. I think it turned out beautiful. Next, there is no die for this, so I am going to fussy cut around it. It's just the idea I had for this card, so I went ahead and cut around it, but only on one side. So you'll see how that looks right here. If I could hold it on screen, there we go. Yeah, so that is going to go on the front of a card that has a window sheet. So this window sheet is going to be just the front side of my card. So I cut it so that it had an extra 1/2 inch flap on one side. So it would actually have been cut to 4 3/4 by 5 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. And that gave me that extra little flap that I could use to attach it to my cards. So the other thing is, when you're putting this down onto a window sheet and you open the card, you're going to see like the messy back side of the card where you see the adhesive. So what I decided to do is cut a shadow layer around it with this cardstock. So I temporarily adhered it down and cut around it. So I'm not cutting exactly, I'm cutting it a little bit bigger. Here you can see I attempted to stick it down one time. It didn't go exactly where I wanted it to go, so I had to peel it off, stick it down again, but there's no stress in stamping. Like, we can do that. It's just paper, right? Next, I flipped it over and added my shadow layer to the back, and that really helps hide it. It gives it a little like a drop shadow, and it's just fun. It was easy to do. Next, I have 2 sheets of A2 size paper here. So 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. One is getting adhered to the front side of that flap on my window sheet. And then because we don't want to see the flap in the back, right, we're going to put another one on the back. So I need to cover the back side of the first piece with adhesive. I'm using a tape runner here and a little bit of glue too, in case I need to move it around. It's very helpful to have the liquid glue. So I lined that up and it actually went on really good the first time. I was so happy. So there is the base of the card, but we're going to add some things. So I'm going to do another wax seal for this one. I'm going to do gold. So these are the wax beads that come in the starter kit with the little burner and everything. So gold and the pearly or peachy pink together. I think this one is going to be gorgeous. So we'll pour that out and then you just stick the wax seal stamp right into it. Let it sit for about 15 seconds. It is addicting. It is so much fun to do. I am in love with it. So I'm super glad that we have now a wax seal kit of the month, because then I can play with it each month, get a new one. It's a really good price point and I'm excited. I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. All right, so I have that same twine out again, just a natural colored twine. I'm going to tie around the card in a little bow. I'm just trying to figure out all different ways I can add wax seals to my cards because I am so in love with them. So you'll see some different ways how I like to add it on in today's video and probably in my future videos, because I think I'm going to keep this style of video where I bring all my club kits together and kind of use them at the same time to create multiple cards. So I did bring in the large die of the month and cut out another thanks, and you can see here I'm using Barely Art Glue to attach the wax seal. I just want to see how it does. Like, let's test it out, see if it's going to hold. And then I added my thanks right under that. So just another combination of wax seal, twine, and my sentiment, kind of like on the first card. I added the sentiment, hope all is well with you, that was hot foiled from this set, to the inside of the card. Just like that. And that completes my second card. I love this. I like the little window shape peeking out. That's really fun. And it's the front cover of the card. So cool. All right, let's move on to card number 3, where I'm going to take that solid hot foil piece and pair it with the embossing folder of the month. This is the Arches and Dots embossing folder. So I thought, let's do a little technique. I'm going to bring in fired brick and add that oxide ink to the front side of the folder and just cover it. And then I'm going to bring in that same dark red color of cardstock that I've been using in today's video and emboss it. But it was a little wah-wah. Like, you can barely tell that the ink is there at all. But a little bit highlighted, almost like in stripes. But I'm going to cover most of it with my super cool full panel hot foil piece. So not a biggie that it didn't show up. You could have a better contrast of ink if you wanted to do something like this. All right, I am using the world's best foam tape here from Pear Blossom Press. Did you see me peel that up? It's repositionable and then permanent after 24 hours. Also, it has very easy paper, very easy to release paper off the back, like the backing peels off so good. So I also hot foiled that sentiment and I'm going to stick that down in the bottom corner here. So it's going to be part way on and part way off the panel. So I did need a little bit more of that foam tape. And then I'm going to take some scraps left over from the first card and die cut out some flowers. Now, one of those flowers didn't cut all the way, but that's not a big deal because it's going to get tucked under my sentiment. So don't be afraid to die cut partial flowers. You can always tuck it behind something. So there we have a little blooming accent. And then we're going to add some moonlight confetti pieces. These have a little bit of a crimped edge, but otherwise fairly flat and an iridescent shine to them. So I'm going to put the tiniest ones in the center of the flowers, and then I will add some around my background, because remember, I have that part of my card that's kind of like a flaw, which really is actually no big deal to me. I don't mind imperfections on my cards. Like, I feel like it adds a little bit of charm to them. So you can see covered up the blemish there in the bottom left corner with an embellishment. And then I'm adding this to a card base. This is another 5x7 card. I love this size. I'm in love with 5x7 size cards right now. I like the bigger size. It feels like a little bit more special. I don't know. So there is card number 3. Can you believe we're already on card number 4? We're going to be playing with the 3D embossing folder of the month. Happy Hello Floral, this one's called. And it's got big flowers in it and vines of little flowers and branches of leaves. You can see there. So I'm going to just emboss this on some white cardstock. But with 3D embossing, you always want to like get it a little tiny bit wet. So I misted my folder and embossed it. That's going to help stretch the paper instead of rip it on those really deep impressions. Next, I have a Zig two-way glue pen, and I'm going to add little accents of glue. Now, I don't want this to be full coverage. I just want it here and there. I'm going to use some gilding flakes on this card. So I'm going to do the largest flowers first, and only the largest flowers. And I'm going to pull out this copper gilding flake giant container of gilding flakes from Nuvo. I mean, I don't think I would ever be able to use this up, and I'm just fairly generous with it. So you can see some of the embossed image is covered, some of it's not. It's just really shabby chic. We'll call it shabby chic. Dusted off the excess, and then I'm going to do just the smaller flowers this time, and I'm going to bring in silver. So I'm doing mixed metallics because I can, because it's fun. It's cool and I like it. So that's what I'm doing, and they just stick so easily. Rub it on with your finger, dust off any excess with a little brush. It's really fun to do. It makes a little bit of a mess. I don't mind a mess. I mean, I just clean it up. I used a little Swiffer, hand duster, and Swiffered that right off. There was a little excess glue on my glass mat, which happens, and so some of it stuck. I will clean that off later. It'll be fine. And then for the leaves and the branches, I am doing the gold. This card is so much fun with the gilding flakes. Have you played with them before? Let me know if you've used these before. I think it's really fun to do. I love it on 3D embossing folders. I have done this before on a Christmas background in my, it was like 10 techniques with 3D embossing folders. If you haven't seen that video, it's one of my most popular. I'll link it for you at the end of this video, so you can check it out next if you haven't seen it. I also have 13 other ways to use 3D embossing folders because I'm in love with them. They are so cool. Like, the impression that you get in them is just like almost magical. Like, how could you do that with paper? Yeah, it's really good. So if you haven't seen those videos, check them out so you can do more fun things with your 3D embossing folders. So I have a little vellum I wrapped around the bottom of this card, and then I'm adding some twine that's white, but it has gold running through it. So I'm just going to play with those metallic colors. I am sticking the ends of the twine down to the back of the card with some double stick tape, and then let's wax seal again. I have just gold, and I'm pouring it right over the center of this twine. Like, speaking of, is this going to work out? Feeling. That happened right here. I just was not sure over the twine, is this going to work? But let's try it. So I did, and you can see the little thank you friend on the side there. I'm not actually going to use that. It just didn't work out with my layout, and I was in love with the wax seal. It worked so good, just right over, like 3 layers of twine. It was so cool how it just made it flat right there. And then Spellbinders has these like paint pens in gold and silver that you can get to color the wax seal part. So I had to do silver, so it really popped off of that gold. And then I have the clear stamp of the month you see right there. I'm going to use that on my next card, so you'll get a really good view of it. But this has a bunch of sentiments in it. So I stamped out for you with some embossing ink, and then put on some gold powder and embossed that. Speaking of magical, that was the first magical thing I learned when stamping, was about heat embossing. Isn't it so cool, melting the powder? Oh, I love it. So I'm going to glue that down just to the upper right of my little wax seal, and then I am going to stick a piece of really lightweight chipboard. I like to get poster boards from the dollar store. They have a small pack that fits in my paper cutter that's like two small poster boards in a pack, and they make really good like background panels for your card fronts, like ones like this that are maybe a little bit warped and bumpy, and then I can stick that whole thing down to my A7 size card, and then it's nice and flat. It really helps hold it together. And then I'm adding some clear baubles here to accent the card. I really thought it would help pick up all of those different metallics and be a little bit more subtle than adding something silver or copper on there. And I love the clear embellishments. They're just subtle and fun. So that finished up that card, and what a fun card to make with all those gilding flakes. I think it was a fun take to do 3 different colors of metallic. All right, next we do have the clear stamp and coordinating die of the month, Happy Hello Floral. Yes, the 3D folder was not called Happy Hello Floral. I'm referring to my notes. The 3D embossing folder is called Stylized Floral, and this one is called Happy Hello Floral. I got them mixed up. So I'm going to stamp out the largest flower image with some Distress Oxide inks. You saw me dust my paper with some embossing powder, which helps the powder only stick to your stamped image. So you just want to pre-treat that paper so that the powder only sticks where you want it to. So I have 3 different colors of ink that I'm using today. The Fired Brick I'm using right now, which is the same color I used on the previous card. I believe that first color that I used, which I don't remember, is Candied Apple, but I'm not sure. And then I'm going to use Lumberjack Plaid for my final color. This is supposed to kind of give an ombre effect, which is more visible on the stamp than it is on the paper, I think, but there is definitely a little bit of difference between the top color and the bottom color. So we'll go with it, but you know, at first glance, you might not notice it. So I'm going to put clear ink on top of this, and that's just going to kind of set it and give it a little bit of a shiny look, which I love. And this is going on the inside of a shaker. I had to make a shaker card because shaker cards are my favorite. So you're not necessarily going to be able to see or feel the embossing, so it wasn't super important to do, but I wanted that shiny effect. So the die set for this is kind of unique in that you can cut out one side or the other, kind of like I wanted to do with my hot foiled image, but they also meet at the top and the bottom. So you can cut out the whole thing, which is exactly what I did right here. And then I'm going to save my cut away pieces and actually use them. First, I'm going to use it as a tool because I want to make sure that this piece is exactly centered on the background of my card, and that the pieces that are cut away are going to line up with it because they're going to go on the outside of my shaker. You'll see how it all comes together, and it lined up really good. So I have a full panel shaker pouch here that is A2 sized, and I'm going to go ahead and stick that to this card base. So 3 sides of adhesive, you're going to fold over 3 sides of that pouch because you want to leave one side open to put in your shaker bits. Now, I will say I didn't get these folded around very well. They're kind of crooked, and I blame my daughter. She came in to talk to me, so I was talking to her while I was doing it. But I have a remedy. It kind of looks wonky. I'll show you as we go. I have a little remedy for it. I'll show you that. So I added those same Moonlight confetti pieces to the inside of the shaker, and once those are added, I can go ahead and seal down the top portion, and that is going to really bring this card to life. I love a shaker. I love it. Okay, back to those fallout pieces, negative pieces around my stamped image. I am taking the Fired Brick and Lumberjack Plaid and spraying those. I just want to do half and half, and they overlap a little bit in the middle, although I ended up leaving kind of a lighter highlight in the middle, and I thought that was really fun. And I also did some shorter or smaller sprays to get larger splatter, and so some of that splatter carried over to the top, and I love that. All right, so you can see I am just covering these pieces with tape runner and then adding them on either side of my shaker. So it's just, I don't know, a fun way to do a full panel shaker because you can see it's open at the top and the bottom. So it's another way you can use your full panel shakers. All right, now we're stamping Thank You Friend on that same dark red cardstock and embossing it with white powder this time for my sentiment. And that's going to really pop on this card. Also, make sure when this is cooled that you dust off any excess embossing powder. And there you can see it all die cut out with the coordinating die because this particular clear stamp set and die of the month has a die for all the sentiments. I am so happy about that. I love a good bubble cut sentiment. So here you can see where my pouch is sticking out a little bit. I just didn't fold them down really good, and I thought, ooh, can I try to peel that up and reposition it? No. No, I could not. So I just cut a card base that was a tiny bit bigger than 5.5 by 4 1/4, and that gave me a little bit of a white border, and because it's white, you can't really see it. Now, had I done a red background, you'd be able to see it more. So I added a wax seal, the plain pink one that I made at the beginning of the video, at the bottom right corner there, and then I'm going to add some, I think these are called carnival glass embellishments. They kind of have that peachy red color, and they are a tiny bit translucent, so they will pick up some of the color from behind them. And I thought it was a really fun addition to that card. So now here, let's check out all 5 of the cards. They're so gorgeous. These flowers this month I'm in love with, and that pomegranate is so beautiful. But I have to say, I think my favorite thing to play with this month definitely had to be that mandala wax seal. I'm super excited about that. So you'll be seeing more wax seal ideas in my upcoming card class videos with my Spellbinder club kit. So make sure you stay tuned. And if you're new to my channel, feel free to subscribe because I have new card making videos all the time. And I will see you very soon on the next one. And if you're interested, make sure you check out the description box below for links to Spellbinders and the different club kits that they offer, because there's even more than I shared here today. I will see you very soon on the next video. Happy stamping! Bye!